I'm Ethan Kwan, and today I'm going to be telling you about secant lines and derivatives. This is an introduction to the world of calculus. Okay, first, before we start, a little warning. You might not understand much of the stuff inside this video if you don't know the following: graphing, slope, distributive property, squaring binomials, or FOIL. You can use FOIL. If you know FOIL, then you probably know this. Simplifying expressions, limits, and knowing binomials and trinomials. What are binomials and trinomials? Well, you should probably research that before you come here. If you do know what they are, great. You can move on. I mean, you can watch the video, but it might be a little bit confusing to you. Okay, so let's start with, this should be a review, but let's try and find the slope of this line. And let's just say this line is equal to y is equal to f of x. So, what we can do is we can take a point, right here, let's say, and let's call it x naught. I don't know why I don't know why they call it x naught. That's just the convention they use, and I'm stuck with it now. So, I don't know. I'm not responsible for it. Okay. So let's move on. After that, let's plot another point over here, and let's call it x naught plus h, and where h is the distance between x naught and x naught plus h, obviously. Okay, so let's draw a vertical line from x naught to this, the line, and let's put a point there, and let's draw another line right there. And so, what is this point on the y-axis there? It's going to be f of x naught. Okay, and if we take the next, the other value right here, this is going to be, let's do the same thing, right? If we draw a line there, then this point that's on the y-axis, the red one, is going to be called f of x naught plus h. Okay, that should also be a review. Because I didn't mention it, but you should also be able to know functions. It's kind of late to mention that, but you should study that too. Okay, anyway. Okay, so let's shrink the graph. Okay, so that gives us space to work. Okay, so the slope of a line is equal to change in y over change in x, or sometimes called rise over run. Where rise is how much you're going up, and run is how much you're going across, or in the x direction. So that's why they call it change in y over change in x. Now, change in y is equal to the y positions of both the y positions, right? The 2 points, y positions, and change in x is equal to, well, you'll see. Okay, so we know that, and this should also be a review, that change in y is going to be f of x naught plus h, because that's the top point, right? That's the top red point on the y-axis, minus f of x naught, because that's the bottom point on the y-axis, the purple point, right? And so that's going to be change in y. And x naught plus h minus x naught, so x naught plus h, because that's the red point on the x-axis, and minus x naught, because that's the difference between x naught and x naught plus h. And of course, we can simplify this. X naught cancels with x naught, and we're left with this helpful equation called f of, well, there isn't really a name, or I'll introduce the name in a little bit. That's the equation. This is going to be the most useful thing in your journey, well, for derivatives anyway. This is going to be one of your most useful things in your journey of calculus. Okay, now, let's go a little bit harder. And and that was all review, right? That was the slope of a line. How do you calculate the slope of this shape? It's a curve, right? Well, you can't really, because the slope is kind of changing. If you look at this point change, the slope at the point is always changing no matter where it goes, right? So it's kind of not right to say the slope of the entire curve. You can say the slope of the instantaneous point, or the point like where it's right now. the way we calculate that is basically we're calculating the slope of this line right here, the tangent line. Okay, now let's use our equation, this equation. But here's a problem. This equation requires 2 points. This point. This is the y position, so it's not really right, but let's just say we need 2 points, right? So we don't really know how to calculate the slope with 1 point. How do we get to 2 points? Well, that's kind of the problem, and the way we fix it is, the way we solve it is we take 2 points instead of 1, and we draw the line between them, okay? And the line between them is called the secant line. I don't know why, it's just called the secant line. Maybe that's something to Google after the video. Okay, so, and then what we do is we look at what happens to this slope as the 2 points get closer and closer and closer. As you can see, it's kind of going down, but we don't really know that. Okay, so we have these points, and another way to say this is that the h is decreasing, right? Because x naught plus h, the h is decreasing a little bit because it's getting closer, right? Okay, so let's try to use our equation here. So this, right? But this is the slope of the entire line only at those 2 points. We want them to get closer and closer together. Now, a really good way to get closer and closer together is called a limit. A limit is going to help us a lot in fireworks, yes. I love fireworks. Limits are going to help us. So a limit as h approaches 0, right? That means it'll get closer and closer to 0, and the second point will get closer and closer to the first point. Okay, so we call this thing here, this limit thing, the derivative of x naught, right? But that's kind of wordy to say. Oh no, it's falling apart. That's kind of hard to say. So, well, we can also say that it's going to be f prime of x naught. Okay, so we don't really, now this is kind of hard to understand. So let's start with an example. Okay, examples. Okay, so let's say we want to calculate f prime of 3. And that might look strange to you, but remember, we just talked about this. F prime of x, any x, is going to be, it's going to be the derivative of 3, right? In this case, it's going to be 3. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is to draw, here's our graph, right? We know that we know a few things, right? Because we have the point 3, we know the point 3 plus h, we know the point f of x equals x squared, and I will warn you that some textbooks, instead of using h, will use change in x, so just watch out for that. Okay, so let's draw a line. This is the easiest way. Let's draw a line to the curve like this. It's straight, right? And then let's draw a circle at that point. And now let's go across here, right? And let's draw another circle. Actually, no, sorry. So now that point is going to be the square of whatever we put in, right? So that's basically the definition of a function. And so this is how a graph works. It just relates 2 points to one another. So for example, 3 and 9, because 3 squared is 9, because f of x equals x squared, 3 squared is 9. Now, so that means this is the point, 3, 9. Okay, so next what we do is we draw a line from 3 plus h to the graph. And we draw another dot, and we draw a line. Okay, and we mark this point 3 plus h squared. So the coordinates of this point are going to be 3 plus h, comma, 9 plus 6h plus h squared. If you're wondering how I got that, let's go on a little aside to figure this out. So 3 plus h squared. We can expand this, right? This is going to be 3 plus h times 3 plus h. Let's use FOIL. First, 3 times 3, 9. Easy. Next, it's going to be outer, right? Outer is going to be 3 times h, which is 3h. Inner, h times 3 is again 3h. And last, h times h is going to be h squared. Okay, let's simplify this. Let's combine like terms. 3h plus 3h is going to be 6h. So 9 plus 6h plus h squared. That's how we got that. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Okay, remember our formula? This was our formula, right? So we can input our formula, our numbers into this, right? So f of x naught plus h, that's just going to be x naught plus h, right? That's x naught is going to be 3, so 3 plus h. F of 3 plus h, what is that? F of x is going to be equal to x squared, so whatever is inside the f function, we will put into x squared. So x naught plus h, 3 plus h squared, we just figured that out. That's going to be 9 plus 6h plus h squared. And also, f of x naught, that's just going to be 3, right? X naught is going to be 3, so f of x naught will be x naught squared, or 3 squared, or 9. So we can put those into the equation. And don't forget the limit. Well, in later examples, I will get rid of the limit. We just have to remember to put it back in afterwards. Okay, so let's simplify this. 9 and 9 cancel, and we get, this is our equation now. And to solve for the limit, all we have to do is we can just, well, whoop, one sec. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. Now, we can cancel the h's, right? There's an h right there, and there's an h right there. So, and we're left, and there's an h right there. So we can cancel all those, and we're left with limit as h approaches 0 of 6 plus h. To calculate this limit, we can just plug 0 into the function h, or the variable h, and we get f prime of 3 equals 6. As you can see, I love fireworks. I don't know. I don't know. I think they're just going to keep coming. Yeah, they are. Woo! Thank goodness. Okay, it's over. Thank you. Thank you. You can stop covering your ears now. I said you can stop covering your ears now. I think you're still covering your ears. Never mind. Okay. So let's derive a general definition of this function f of x equals x squared. So let's go back. Instead of 3, we have a general number, x, and we have the point x plus h. Okay, so we can do what we did last time. We can draw a line, and there's that. We can draw another line, right? And we can put that there, right? This is going to be x squared, right? So this is going to be the point x comma x squared. Okay? Now let's draw another line all the way up to there. And we can draw another line right there. And then we can put our point there, x plus h squared. Now let's write the point. It's going to be x plus h comma x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. If you don't believe me, you can try foiling. I don't know if that's an actual word, but I'm just using it anyway. X plus h times x plus h is going to be equal to x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Okay, now let's use our equation. As you can see, I didn't put the limit in. We will put that in afterwards. So we can put our equation in. We can cancel the x squareds, and we're left with this. And next thing we can do is we can cancel the h's, all the h's, and we can put the limit back in, right? we can't forget the limit. And so we get 2x plus h. We can put h equals 0 just to see what happens, and we're left with 2x. So interestingly, f of x equals x squared, and f prime of x equals 2x. Did you expect it to be something more complicated? Well, it's not. Don't worry. Okay, now here's a practice problem for you. F of x equals x cubed. Here's the graph. And I want you to figure out two things. I want you to figure out what f prime of 2 is, and I also want you to figure out what f prime of x is. So please pause the video, and I'll reveal the solution in now. So please pause the video. Okay, so let's put the point 2 and 2 plus h down on the bottom. And let's draw the graph again. Let's put our problem at the top, and let's draw a line there, put a point, and draw another line right there. And we know this is going to be 2 cubed or 8. So this is going to be the point 2, 8. Now, of course, this is not to scale. And also we have the 2.2 plus h. Now, 2 plus h, let's do what we did before. Put a point, put a line right there, and okay. Next thing we do is we put our equation in there. Now, here's the tricky part. You might have gotten stuck on this, and that's why you're watching this. Sometimes you might have also cheated and not paused the video and not tried to work it out. In that case, you can try right now after I explain this. Okay, so after I explain how to cube a binomial, which is this, please pause the video again if you were confused on this, and try and figure it out on your own again. Okay, so let's go on a little aside lesson: how to cube a binomial. Okay, so here's our problem. I just reversed it a little bit so it's easier to see. Because most times when you're cubing a binomial, you want the lower term, or in this case the 0 term, to go in on the right. Okay, so let's expand this. We get h squared, h times plus 2 times h plus 2 times h plus 2. Let's simplify these two h plus 2's. That sounds weird. So we can multiply those to get h plus 2 times h squared plus 4h plus 4. Okay, now here comes the trickiest step. So how to cube a binomial. This is the trickiest step. What we do is we multiply the first term, h, right, in the pink brackets, right? We multiply the h in the pink brackets by every term inside the yellow brackets, basically distributing it, right? And same thing with the 2. We multiply 2, 2, 2, and we get something else, right? Okay, so here's the first one, and here's the second one. So we have to put them on separate lines. So h times h squared is going to be h cubed. As you can see, that's the first term in the whole thing. And then 4h times h is going to be 4h squared. That's the second term, as you can see. H times 4 is going to be 4h. That's the third term. And then 2, because we finished the whole term, we move on to the 2. 2 times h squared is going to be 2h squared. That's the fourth term, as you can see. H times 4h is going to be, 2 times 4h is going to be 8h. That's the fifth term. And 2 times 4 is going to be 8. That's the last term, as you can see. Now, since everything's addition, we can get rid of the brackets. Okay, and by the way, just warning you, never, ever, 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 ever call this a hexanomial, because that just sounds weird, and nobody's going to understand you. Well, I might, but other people might not. Okay, so, let's get, it's falling apart. Okay. So I'm gonna just box all the like terms and we can simplify. If we simplify, we get this expression here. 4h squared plus 2h squared is gonna be 6h squared. 4h plus 8 plus 8h is gonna be 12h, and then plus 8 and plus h cubed, because those didn't have any like terms. Okay, now we get the really, really hairy expression h cubed plus 6h squared plus 12h plus 8. Wow. Okay, you've probably never dealt with this kind of polynomial in your mathematics, so you might want to keep watching, or you might want to try and pause the video again, and you can work this out on your own. Okay, now that you know that, okay, so what we can do is we can write down the coordinates. 2 plus h comma, h cubed plus 6h squared plus 12h plus 8. Now that's really annoying, and you might not want to do this, so we can just do it together. You can if you want. It's your choice. You might be like, you might really want to try it, so go ahead. But I'm not going to stop you, but you might just want to try this with me. Okay, let's write down our equation, the really helpful one. Let's put in the values. F of x naught plus h is going to be that really hairy equation that we just derived, and f of x naught is going to be 8 because 2 cubed is 8, right? So we get this. Let's cancel the 8s because we don't need those. And let's simplify. Okay. Let's simplify even more by getting rid of the h's. H, and we're left with h squared plus 6h plus 12. Actually, when I was making this video, I was really confused about this last term. The reason is I forgot to put the limit as h approaches 0. So never forget that, or else you'd be really confused about this last expression. Okay, so limit as h approaches 0 of x squared plus h squared plus 6h plus 12. Sorry about that. I'm really used to saying x squared, not h squared. So, okay. So, if we simplify this, right, 0 squared is going to be 0. 6 times 0 is going to be 0, so we're left with 12. So that means f prime of 2 is going to be equal to 12. Now, if you forgot what that means, right, let me just recap. It just means the slope at the point 2, 8, right? The slope of the tangent line at 2, 8. Okay, last thing. Let's try and figure out a general equation for f prime of x. Okay, this might get really hairy, so you can skip this and you can move on, but I'm gonna do this with you. Okay. So, let's simplify x plus h cubed, right? I skipped all the steps of line drawing because that might take a while. X plus h cubed, let's write that down. Okay, let's simplify, or expand it, right? X plus h times x plus h times x plus h. Okay, let's multiply the two last terms. We get this. Okay, now do you remember? Let's see, I'll split the x multiplication on one side and the h multiplication on the other side. Okay, so we want to calculate this first, right? So we get, if you want to multiply this, yeah. Okay, now let's do the h's. H, all right, h times h squared is going to be h cubed. All right, now we want to add those two together. This might get really hairy, and I hate hairy equations, but we have to do this, so let's keep going. Let's push through. Okay. So we're going to get this long, hairy equation. I call it hairy. I don't know why. Okay. Let's simplify this a little bit. I'm going to change some of the values around, and I'll box the ones that I've changed. Okay. Now, let me point out the like terms. And those are the ones that I've boxed in the same color. The ones I've boxed in the same color are the same terms. Right, so h squared x and 2h squared x, right, that's gonna really, no. Okay, so, let's see. How can I simplify this? Oh yeah, so I can combine the like terms. I'm still boxing them. And then most people like to put the highest terms, if there are two of them, most people like to put the highest terms on the sides. So let's do that, because it looks nicer. There. Now, that is really complicated. Now, yes, cubing binomials is really hard. Okay, so let's go back to our graph. Let's see. So, here's our equation from before. So, and this is going to be the point x plus h, comma, x cubed plus 3h squared x plus 3hx squared plus h cubed. Now, that's also a mouthful. Do not try to say that. Or you can, and show off. Right? So, let's use our super handy-dandy equation, this one. and let's stick all the values in. F of x naught plus h is going to be the really hairy equation that we just got, right? And the x cubed, right? X cubed is going to be, well, the other y value, right? So this is our equation. Let's simplify. Let's cancel the x cubed. Let's condense it a little bit so it doesn't like look too long, right? I don't know. Okay, so let's cancel the h's. H cancels with that square, and it also cancels with that cube, and it also cancels with that h. Okay, so now we take the limit. Remember, don't forget the limit. And we can get rid of we got rid of all the terms. Now, here's the hard part. 3hx is going to be 3 times 0 times x, right? That's just going to be 0, so we can ignore that. H squared, 0 squared is going to be 0, so we can ignore that. So we are left with the equation 3x squared. Okay, so that was really complicated. Okay, so thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And also share this channel with others, just to just share this channel with others. Okay. Also, see you how to do stuff with Ethan.com, and see you next time. Bye.